Dave Aranda has officially named a starting quarterback for the Baylor Bears in the 2023 season, and it is Blake Shapen. That's right. Blake Shapen has won the job over Sawyer Robertson. It became official today during a press conference here in Waco. As Dave mentioned, multiple reasons why Shapen ended up being named the starter, which I'll get to in a minute, and also some reasons of optimism, I think, for the future of Sawyer Robertson going forward. But in general, this was going to be the first question that was going to be asked today, and Dave mentioned it. And I think going into this press conference, everyone was kind of thinking, okay, is this going to be the time for this? Is this going to be a situation where he just answers a bunch of, questions that maybe people have, but he's not going to get to the question that everyone wants answered? But immediately, no hesitation, Dave Aranda said, yep, after a week of spring practices, after the spring game, 1 week later, he had a conversation with both Blake Shapen and Sawyer Robertson. They sat him down, they talked to him, went through it, named Blake Shapen the starting quarterback, which if you've been on Sic'Em 365 premium side of things, you would know that this is the way things were trending. Shapen was better all spring. This is not to say that Sawyer Robertson was not good, but Shapen was consistently better throughout spring camp. And then you got to the spring game, and Sawyer had a better day than Blake did, but that didn't make up for what had happened throughout the entire month of spring practices. So let's dive into some of the things that Dave Aranda said. So he mentioned the reasons for it. He felt like Sawyer progressed and got better. They were way impressed with him and his future. So lots of good things to say about Sawyer, but it came down to these couple things for Blake Shapen. Consistency and improvement was way impressive. Plus the leadership was impressive as well. And I think that's been a key thing going into the spring, and the things that we talked about throughout spring camp was, could Blake Shapen become a leader of this football team? Last year, he was not a leader of this football team, and it was tough for him, right? Gary Bohannon leaves, and Gary was unequivocally a great leader. You can say whatever you want about his football skills. I understand that. But as far as leadership goes, he was a leader of the football team. And so last year, I think it was kind of one of those awkward things where Blake was trying to figure out, okay, I need to be a really good quarterback, but I also need to be a really good leader, and getting kind of caught in between of both of those. And so I think coming into this spring, he made an adjustment there. I think the coaching staff also made it easy for him to make that adjustment. And I think we got to see flashes of Shapen truly become a leader of this football team, which again, big reason why Dave Aranda made the decision was to make sure that, hey, this is his team. This is Blake Shapen's team going in to the summer and then into the fall. So leadership was a big part of it. I think Dave was really honest too, which I really appreciated, was he mentioned that if you watch the spring game, he understood that there might be some concerns. There might be some questions as to, is Blake really better than Sawyer? He mentioned that there could be some people that had that opinion, but at the end of the day, they were just impressed with the overall body of work that Blake Shapen showed. And like I mentioned, the leadership was a key part. One thing that he did mention that, again, continues to be very important to this football team, because they're going to need Sawyer Robertson, is the fact that he handled everything really well. Sawyer mentioned that this is where he wants to be. And Dave Aranda and the staff, they want him here. They see a high ceiling with Sawyer Robertson. They see a guy that's only going to get better throughout the summer and into the fall. And Dave mentioned that during the press conference. This is something they expect from him. They expect in the fall he's going to be competing, not necessarily for the starting job, but going to be competing every single day, so that if Blake Shapen does, one of two things, if he gets injured or if he underperforms, that Sawyer Robertson is ready. And I think they feel really good about where he is at and where he's going to be. There's a high ceiling there, and a guy who's willing to work, but also, and probably most importantly right now, willing to wait his turn for the starting job now that it is Shapen's team. As far as Blake Shapen goes, I think that it's really important that we kind of take a step back and look at last season and what he was asked to do. And it was highs and lows, right? He had some really good games where you could see he was flashing the potential that we saw in 2021 when he helped lead the Bears to a Big 12 championship win. But there were also lows, right? The fumbling of the football, the bad turnovers, the missing open receivers at times, the footwork. There are things that need to be addressed, but I do think a big part of this is really the leadership factor. I think if he does become or truly become the leader of this football team, I do think it will help him on the field as well. And guys want to battle for a guy that is their leader. And now the next step for him is that consistency, right? And Dave Aranda mentioned he's been consistent, but I think the fans need to see that. And I think he needs to continue to see that every single day throughout the summer and then into the fall. Can he be consistent with not turning the ball over? Can he be consistent with making the right throw and the right read? If he's able to, I'm expecting him to have a very nice season, a very nice bounce back season from what was a struggling 2022. And I would also say if the defense gets better, that could help him as well. There was immense pressure on Blake Shapen and this offense last year to keep up. And that's not something they were used to in 2021. This team needs to get back to running the football, dominating time of possession, and hitting on play action and deep shots. That's what helped make them successful enough offensively in 2021 and what I think will make them successful in 2023. Now the question is, can the defense step up and make this more balanced of a situation so that Shapen doesn't feel like he's got to go out and put up, 30 plus points every single game? That's to be determined. But at the end of the day, right now, what we know is Blake Shapen's the starting quarterback. Blake Shapen is a guy this staff clearly trusts, and they feel like he's the guy that can potentially lead them back to a Big 12 championship game, potentially win a Big 12 championship, and give them the best shot at competing at the highest level in the conference and in the nation. So Dave Aranda, he made official today, made the decision to go with Blake Shapen, and now the rest is kind of to be determined. And we'll be waiting to kind of see the progress and improvements from Blake Shapen and Sora Robertson throughout the summer and the fall. But Baylor has found their guy at the quarterback position for the 2023 season. Thanks for listening. This has been Sic'Em 365 with Grayson Grudenhafer.